Yo, moin Leute, willkommen zu Void of Das Gaming, eurem Channel für den freshesten Arena of Valor Content. Ich habe heute ein neues Ranked Match für euch dabei. Das ist ja immer das, was die Königsklasse bei Arena of Valor darstellt, im weitesten Sinne. Und da RoV es schon bekommen hat oder noch bekommen wird, oder vielleicht ist es noch gar nicht da, oder vielleicht kommt es bald, aber es ist auf jeden Fall angekündigt, dass RoV als Jungler oder in, ja, ich glaube, keiner anderen Form, wo spielt man RoV sonst, ein Upgrade bzw. ein Buff erfahren wird, weil Arena of Valor TeeMee Infinite wohl gemerkt haben, dass er aktuell nicht so richtig performt und ich wollte die Chance einfach nutzen, euch im Vorfeld schon mal ein ganz kurzes RoV-Match mitzubringen. Wie gesagt, Ranked Match, habt RoV im Jungle gespielt und ich möchte mit euch ganz kurz einmal durch das Bild gehen, damit ihr wisst, was wir gleich im Gameplay sehen werden. Also, hier ist es. Es ist nicht final, da sind einige Sachen auch anpassbar, während ihr spielt. Das würde ich euch auch immer empfehlen. Es ist natürlich kein festgeschriebenes Gesetz, dass man ein Bild, was man im Vorfeld auswählt, am Ende auch so spielt. Und in diesem Falle war es auch so. Wir hatten Murloc als Tank mit dabei, also habe ich hier Blitzbett fallen lassen und gegen Muramasa ausgetauscht. Aber das ist so das grundlegende Bild. Wir spielen also RoV wie einen klassischen AD-Carry. Er hat eine Ult, die ihn zu einem Tank bzw. eher einem Warrior werden lässt. Und ich muss sagen, ich liebe bei RoV diesen aggressiven Bruiser-Playstyle. Ich habe auch hier deshalb die Arcana so gewählt, dass das Ganze irgendwie weiterführt, was ich in den Items schon angefangen habe. Also hier Attack Damage, Physical Armor Penetration und ein bisschen Movement Speed. Attack Speed braucht ihr nicht, weil ihr habt damit, dass ihr Scorching Wind und so baut, schon eigentlich genug mit dabei. Also ich hatte auf jeden Fall nicht das Gefühl, dass ich zu wenig Attack Speed auf meinen Fähigkeiten habe. Heißt also 10 mal Berserker, 10 mal Assassine und 10 mal den Dragoon. Level 3 natürlich solltet ihr euch immer kaufen und das ist auch so wirklich ein Standardding, was ihr auf allen Warriors und auch allen AD-Carries, also Marksman bzw. Schützen spielen könnt. Wenn ihr noch nicht weiter vorgedrungen seid in die Sphären der Arcana, dann kauft euch einfach die und damit seid ihr echt im besten Fall, sobald da irgendwie Attack Damage in den Scalings der Skills drin steht, seid ihr damit wunderbar bedient. Und bei den Enchantments habe ich mich dazu entschieden, hier auf Lockheim zu gehen, Awakening Devil zu nutzen. Also wenn die Ult prockt, dann kriegt ihr Cooldown Reduction auf eure anderen Spells. Hier einmal noch Ghostly Claw mit dabei und auch den Awakening Devil. Und ich habe mich dann noch hier für League of Humans mit Restore Plus und Gunslinger entschieden. Und das soll es dann auch gewesen sein. Und ja, es wird ein spannendes Gameplay. Ich habe auf jeden Fall viel gemacht, aber wir werden dann auch sehen, wie es am Ende ausgegangen ist. Ich weine schon ein bisschen, aber das möchte ich euch auch gleich zeigen. Und wenn ihr sagt, wow, cooler Kanal, habt ihn gerade erst gefunden, lasst mir doch gerne ein Abo da, wenn ihr ansonsten auch schon häufiger da wart und bisher jetzt noch nicht über ein Abo nachgedacht habt. Es kostet euch ja nichts und ihr kriegt damit auch jedes Mal eine Info, wenn ihr die Glocke aktiviert, wenn ich ein neues Video online stelle, was alle 2 Tage der Fall sein wird. Und ansonsten freue ich mich natürlich auch über eure Likes und eure Comments, die ihr gerne einfach unter dieses Video runterschreiben könnt. So, genug des ganzen theoretischen Blablas. Jetzt schauen wir uns das Gameplay an und ich würde sagen, wir starten gleich rein. Ab dafür. Alright, here we go. And first of all, let's talk about our team composition because that's most of the time the things that are going to decide the outcome of the game. Because if you have a decent team composition, that is something that you can profit from mostly. So in this kind of case, as you can see, I'm with Telenas. I would say that's pretty decent. She's got great range. I can be a threat to the enemies, holding them back a little bit from Telenas. I've got the revive ability on my ultimate, so I can help her out if things are going to be a little bit more dramatic. We've got Crixie on the mid lane. She's a really strong mid laner, so that's a good choice here. We've got Hayate in the jungle without the jungle talent. We're going to see if that is going to work out. I was a little bit in doubt when I saw this pick, but you need to check it out and you can't really just kind of judge a book by its cover because sometimes things are actually quite surprising, and I think it's going to be like this in this game. And we've got a lane on the solo lane which is who is fighting against Arthur, and yeah, that's basically our team composition. In terms of the enemies, as you can already see, we've got Tulin in the mid lane, so another really strong mid laner. Crixie is not going to have an easy time on him. We've got Sinestria in the jungle for the opposing side, so she's a really good jungler if you can play her well. And there's Valheim as well as Omega on the dual lane. So I would say the matchup is pretty much even just from the basic stats if you take the tier lists and put them up. I just used my revive ability to come back here. Didn't really help that much, but I was able to occupy the enemies a little bit longer. So I think that was well placed. And now it's time for retaliation because we can close in a little bit on the opposing tower. Unfortunately, Sinestria has already taken one of the main objectives. She's just scored the Darkslayer. Our team didn't really pay that much attention to it. I think Elaine is pretty much someone new on the character, as you guys are going to see in the end result when we're taking a closer look on the kills, deaths and assists, but this needs to wait a little bit longer until we can finish the game. And right now my job is just to kind of be there on the dual lane and yeah, occupy those guys here, because we are closing in right now and we've got a lovely double kill here for our Crixie. That really helps out if you have a strong character. Fueling him up with some gold makes him even stronger, so that choice was perfect. Crixie has just received a kickstart, and as you can see, we have been already getting 2 assists here, so I would say the start of the game has actually been quite nice. And now it's time to get some damage into Tulin. Tulin is a bit struggling here against Telenas because she just has this massive range. If Tulin is starting to add up some stuff to his markers, it's important for you just to kind of draw back and let him kind of work. Otherwise you're going to have massive amounts of damage, and unfortunately I could do nothing to prevent that kill from Sinestria, but in hindsight I think that was completely fine, because we got another kill and now it's our time to damage that Abyssal Dragon. I think Sinestria is a little bit too low to contest it, and that's actually really worth. Yeah, Dragon has been defeated. So despite the fact that Haigetter hasn't used his jungle talent or hasn't taken the jungle talent right from the start, he's still doing what the jungler needs to do, clearing the objectives, being there for some strikes and ganks, and that's the most important thing. The best jungler is not because of the jungle talent, but because he has good vision and has a good understanding of the game flow. With TeeMee, it's actually not that bad to get into some tanky situations, as you can see, but you need some backup because you are actually not that tanky. From all the games that I had on the TeeMee so far, my experience is that the character feels a lot more tanky than he actually is, so you need to take that into consideration. You're not someone like Lumbur, you are not Arduin or someone who has this kind of build-up mechanics where you can actually get a shield or something like that, so it's really important to have a good understanding on how much health you have and how much damage enemies can bring to the battlefield, and react on that accordingly, because otherwise you're just going to be shredded into pieces. I mean, you see in this build or in this gameplay, I have already been taking the TeeMee as some kind of tank build, but it's not going to last long if we are fighting against a lot of damage dealers such as Sinestria or Valheim, so you need to be careful about your positioning. I mean, yes, you are the tank and your role should always be standing in front of your damage dealers so that you can just push some enemies away and zone them. But of course, it's not really that useful if you're dying in a stiff breeze just because you overextended a little bit too much and your damage dealers were not able to get into range to fire their shots into the enemy. So it's all about positioning and a kind of intelligent usage of your skills, especially your resurrect skill, is quite crucial to have a understanding on when to use it and how to use it. For example, in this kind of situation, we used it to bring Telenos back, and it turned out really nice because Hayate was there, Crixie was there, and we were able to clear this section without any losses on our team side. And that was because of the resurrect ability that I have just been activating a couple of seconds before Telenas was engaged completely by the opponent. So TeeMee is all about the ultimate and how to use it, and you just need to take a really good look at the health bars of your team and how much the enemies are actually able to contribute into this kind of playstyle. So here we go, another kill for our team. Omega is dead right now, so the tank is dead, or one of the first tanks is dead, because I just killed Arthur here with my fart ability. It's actually really powerful, therefore I was using this kind of AP scaling. I know that you can build the Arcana on kind of tankiness completely or health gain completely, but in my experience, I always used the AP to the extent where I was at least able to get some value to my team, because I was just been able to get some more damage into the enemies, and of course that's really helpful even if you are the tank, to have it your way. So resurrection ability was up. Unfortunately, as I said, my team was not going in. I think that was the wisest decision, because the enemy is just pushing so hard. There's not really that much that we can get from the fight, so I kind of sacrificed myself, but it gave my team enough time to get out. And as you can see, Hayate 5-0, Crixie 6-0, we are doing really good. And I think that's also because we were playing quite aggressively so far, giving our team a lot of vectors to get into the enemy. To get into the enemies from different angles, and I think that is how you are supposed to play the TeeMee. You need to be upfront, you need to take the fight to the enemies, and if you do that consistently, you will get the benefits from this kind of gameplay or this kind of playstyle. Unfortunately, Darkslayer has again been killed by Sinestria, so she really has a hang on getting that minion or that monster. I would say monster. Minion sounds a little bit too little for this kind of thing. And here comes the chivalry. Again, we're going in, using our spells. Omega is about to be dead, so I am just continuing to kind of get him, but unfortunately I missed my S2. Now my team has to retreat because Sinestria was closing in on them. Now there's the fight, Sinestria versus Crixie. I tried to get to Crixie in order to use my spell. Unfortunately, Sinestria used her ultimate on me, but there is Crixie, and I was just using my spell here because I wanted to save Crixie, but no need for that. Crixie is able to fight that fight without me, or basically she's just getting the damage through on Sinestria, and now we're sitting on 17 versus 18, so quite comfortable right now. I'm always doing a lot of calling when I play, so what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to tell my team what I'm about to do next. I mean, yes, sometimes your job is to babysit the AD carry, or if the AD carry is not functioning in a proper way, contributing to the team, your job would then be to switch to, for example, the jungler, which I wouldn't always advise because the jungler is actually quite mobile and self-sufficient, but it might just be a good idea to switch from the AD carry to the mid laner. In this case, that might actually be the smarter idea, because Crixie was doing a really good job so far, but you are mostly the babysitter. But I still think it's beneficial if you tell your team what you are about to do, just because your team knows that you are going to initiate a fight. In this case, I could, for example, called an attack. That would have helped my team to find out that I was about to enter the fight, and they could have acted or reacted accordingly, but it turned out in a really good manner. We just killed these guys, but now we need to be focusing on defending our towers, because while we were fighting in the middle, both Valheim and Tulun did a really good job on destroying some of our towers. So now it's tower defensive time, and we need to get to those, because otherwise they're just backdooring you, and of course that's a good strategy, especially if you are not leading in terms of kills. Why not destroy some towers, push some waves, and win the game via just destroying the core with not that many kills? I mean, it's still working, because that is basically the win condition. You need to get to that core. Deaths and kills. If you're losing, it's just a number. If you're winning, the number is always right. But of course, that's something that needs to be planned and focused on. For example, Arthur now tries to backdoor us here with great mobility. I mean, he's got the opportunity to do that, and we already lost one tower. Maximizing my health here in the very best way possible, running in and destroying that minion with our farting ability. And I would say now it's just time to get the Slayer, to kill it, and be prepared for the last encounter. We've got the game in our hands so far. I mean, we just finished the middle lane, so the tower split is basically even. Middle lane is still standing and completely functional. We just have one tower left on the dual lane, but that's alright, because we have one core lane that leads straight to the core. One core lane that leads to the core, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. And in this case, our win condition is basically just get the Dark Slayer, pop it, and enter the fight in the mid lane and push straight through, and the game is a win. And I think that's something that we need to focus on right now. A lane versus 4 to 3 of these enemies is not going to be, yeah, it's not going to be in her favor, as you can see, because he was just not having the best of all the games so far. Sinestra is trying to get her ult in, but I think she already used it. So using my healing ability right now, Telenas is pushing through at the top lane, which is actually really, really good. Nice strategy. She completely took the advantage of us being in a fight. Now the enemy is regrouping on the top lane, but it's way too late. She already got that tower, so it's just 2 towers against that core, or protecting that core, and we can be all over the place in order to take that last 2 towers. I'm going in here. Omega alone is not really being a big deal for me, using my resurrection ability here, but unfortunately I'm not getting back with so much health, and of course I'm going to die right now. But Crixie has an advantage here. Unfortunately Hayate isn't there, because otherwise he could just been able to kind of turn that fight around. I don't know what Elaine is doing at this very moment in the game, but look at that Hayate. He has decided to go with no jungle talent into the jungle, and he has just been playing an incredible game with 12 kills and just 1 death so far. So props to that. Been playing really good. Crixie has been playing a really good game, but unfortunately she is lacking a bit of gold. As you can see, she is lowest in terms of the earned gold so far, and of course she is missing a lot of items. She's not even full build, and we are about to build the last item. So I guess she should have been focusing a little bit more on getting some farm instead of just getting kills, but we have the Infinite Slayer, and I think even while Elaine wasn't playing the craziest game in all the history of all the Elaines out there on the European battlefield, he has been managing to get a really important kill on a really important objective, And sometimes it's just this little small thing that people are actually doing that's going to turn the battle in your favor, or kind of putting the nail in the coffin of our enemies in this particular case. And we are now closing in. Darkslayer is about to approach. 16 minutes have been, or 17 minutes have been played, and with the full force we are able to go in. As you can see, the core has already been damaged by half, and now the game is done. And I think with the TeeMee in the current meta in 2022, I think this is a really good example of how good this champion is if you play him quite, or if you play them, because there's the two of them. If you play these guys quite aggressively, we are going to come out as the second best player in that game, with third best player in the game, with Quixie and Hayate being ahead of us. But I think it was a decent performance with around 40% damage taken for our team. Good fight participation, and I think it just shows that TeeMee is actually a decent choice, and you might reconsider that you have never played them before, and you might want to buy them and get them to the battlefield, because I think they are actually quite fun to play. So thanks for watching. Have a nice evening. Switch on your YouTube channel in 2 days when there's another video to come, and have a good evening. Bye bye.